That educational app you bought? It might be stealing your child's words. I know that sounds dramatic, but if your toddler is getting quiet screen time while you think they're learning, you could be accidentally slowing down their speech development. And that's just one of 6 neuroscience myths that sound incredibly smart, but are actually sabotaging well-meaning parents every single day. The myth I'm about to share affects 90% of educated parents, and it's probably affecting your family right now. But first, let me show you how deep this problem goes. Picture this. Your 3-year-old isn't talking as much as their preschool friends. Your neighbor's kid is already reading. Your mom asks why you're not doing flashcards yet, so you download the apps. You buy the workbooks. You start feeling like you're behind on something you didn't even know was a race. Here's what's really happening. According to the CDC, 1 in 6 children has a developmental disability or delay. But most of these aren't caused by lazy parenting or missed opportunities. They're often made worse by parents trying too hard in the wrong ways. You're not failing. The system is failing you. These neuro-myths come wrapped in scientific language from app marketers and well-meaning relatives. They sound so convincing that smart parents follow them religiously, and then wonder why their anxious efforts aren't creating confident, thriving kids. The good news? Once you see these myths for what they are, everything changes. Harvard researchers have spent decades studying what actually builds young brains. Their findings? It's not what the apps are selling you. They call it serve and return. Think of it like a tennis match between you and your child. Back and forth interactions. Responsive conversations. Real human connection. That's what grows neural pathways, not screen-based curriculum or structured learning time. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through 6 myths that are keeping you from this natural, powerful approach. You'll get 6 new rules based on actual neuroscience, not marketing neuroscience. And the best part? You already have everything you need. No expensive programs, no special degrees, just you, your child, and the right framework. Let's start with the most dangerous myth of all. Myth 1. 90% of brain development happens by age 5, so we must push early academics. This myth feels true because you've heard it everywhere. The statistic gets quoted in parenting magazines and preschool brochures. It creates this panic that if you don't start formal learning immediately, you're wasting critical brain-building time. Here's the truth that Harvard Center on the Developing Child wants you to know. Yes, early years matter enormously, but not because of academics. The brain is building its foundation through relationships and responsive interactions. When you have back-and-forth conversations with your child, you're literally constructing neural architecture. When you push worksheets on a 2-year-old, you're missing the real window. New rule: connection before content. Prioritize responsive interactions over forced learning. Here's what this looks like. Instead of sitting down with flashcards after dinner, you're reading together on the couch. Your 3-year-old points to the picture and says, "Doggy." You respond, "Yes, that's a big brown dog. I wonder where he's going." Your child thinks for a moment and says, "To find food." You keep the conversation going. What kind of food do you think dogs like best? This 5-minute interaction just built more neural pathways than 30 minutes of educational apps. Your child practiced language, prediction, reasoning, and turn-taking, all while feeling connected to you. But if forcing academics early is wrong, then these educational apps must be safe, right? Myth 2. Educational apps and videos teach speech and language. This myth feels smart because the apps have endorsements and promise to teach hundreds of words. The marketing shows toddlers engaged and learning. It seems like a win-win. Your child gets screen time and you feel good about the educational value. The American Academy of Pediatrics has different news. They emphasize that young children learn language through interaction with real humans, not through passive consumption of digital content. An observational study even suggests that increased handheld screen time may be associated with increased risk of expressive speech delays. Real voices, real conversations, real back-and-forth exchanges, that's how language develops. New rule, the real voice rule. Any screen content must include adult co-viewing and discussion. Before, your 18-month-old sits quietly with a learning app while you make dinner. They tap and swipe and seem focused. You think they're absorbing vocabulary. After, you set up a simple activity instead, maybe wooden spoons and pots for banging, or a cardboard box to crawl through. You narrate what they're doing. You're making such loud music. Bang, bang, bang. Now you're quiet. Now loud again. They giggle and repeat your words. Real language learning in real time. When you do use screens, you're sitting together, pausing to talk about what you see, extending the content into real life. The screen becomes a conversation starter, not a substitute teacher. And speaking of screens, there's another myth about quiet screen time that might surprise you. Myth 3. Quiet screen time equals good focus and independence. This myth feels right because when your child is absorbed in a screen, they look concentrated. They're not interrupting your work call or making messes in the kitchen. It seems like they're practicing attention skills and learning to entertain themselves. The World Health Organization has different guidance. For children under 5, they recommend that sedentary screen time should be as little as possible. What looks like focus might actually be overstimulation. The rapidly changing images and sounds can overwhelm a developing nervous system rather than strengthen it. True focus develops through hands-on exploration and gradually increasing challenges in the real world. New rule, the active engagement rule. Screen time should involve physical movement or verbal interaction. Here's the scene change. Instead of quiet tablet time during your afternoon slump, your 3-year-old is helping you sort laundry. Can you find all the red socks? You ask. They dig through the pile, chattering about colors and textures. It's messier than screen time. It's louder. But they're building real attention skills through purposeful activity. Their focus comes from intrinsic motivation and physical engagement, not from being passively captured by digital stimulation. Now, most parents think they're being responsible by limiting screen time to just 30 minutes a day. But here's what they're missing. Myth. 4. Limiting screen time is enough. Minutes matter most. This myth feels responsible because you've heard the time recommendations from pediatricians. You set timers and stick to limits. You feel like you're protecting your child from too much screen exposure. But the American Academy of Pediatrics emphasizes content quality and co-viewing just as much as duration. A 20-minute nature documentary that you watch together, pausing to discuss and wonder, can be far more beneficial than 30 minutes of age-appropriate content consumed alone. Context matters more than minutes. New rule, the 3C rule. Content, context, and co-viewing over time tracking. Before, 30 minutes of YouTube Kids in the car while you run errands. Your child watches quietly while you focus on driving and your to-do list. After, 20 minutes of a carefully chosen animal documentary during a weekend afternoon. You sit together on the couch. Look at how the baby elephant stays close to mama, you observe. Your 4-year-old asks, why? You pause the screen and talk about it. The content becomes a springboard for curiosity and connection. Your child learns that screens can be tools for discovery rather than just entertainment or distraction. But what about when you're genuinely worried that something might be wrong? Myth 5. Wait and see equals calm, patient parenting. This myth feels wise because you don't want to overreact or put unnecessary labels on your child. You've heard that boys develop slower, or that some kids are just late bloomers. Waiting feels like you're avoiding anxiety and letting natural development unfold. But the American Speech-Language Hearing Association reports that 10 to 20% of children experience late language emergence. Early identification and support can make an enormous difference. What feels like patient parenting might actually be missing opportunities for help. Professional guidance doesn't mean something is wrong. It means you're being proactive about support. New rule: trust but verify. Trust your child's individual timeline, but verify with professional check-ins when you have concerns. Here's how this plays out. Your 2.5-year-old isn't putting words together yet. Instead of Googling late talker and reassuring yourself that Einstein didn't talk until age 4, you schedule a developmental screening with your pediatrician. Maybe you'll learn that everything is perfectly on track for your child's unique timeline. Maybe you'll discover some simple strategies that can help. Either way, you'll have peace of mind and a clear path forward. You're not catastrophizing. You're gathering information so you can provide the best support. And here's the most toxic myth that's eating parents alive from the inside. Myth 6. If your child has delays, it must be your fault. This myth feels true because our culture constantly messages that perfect parenting creates perfect outcomes. Social media shows highlight reels. Other parents seem to have it all figured out. When your child struggles, the voice in your head whispers that you must have done something wrong. The CDC data tells a different story. Developmental variations come from a complex mix of genetics, environmental factors, individual neurology, and yes, sometimes just chance. Most delays are not parenting failures. Self-blame steals energy that could go towards support and solutions. New rule: support. Not self-blame. Focus your energy on current support rather than past regret. Here's the shift. Instead of staying up late Googling, "Did screen time cause speech delay?" or replaying every parenting decision you've made, you research speech therapists in your area. You connect with other parents who've been through similar experiences. You ask your pediatrician about resources and next steps. You channel your love and concern into action rather than anguish. Your child needs your advocacy and support, not your guilt and self-punishment. So where does this leave us? Picture this. It's a Tuesday morning. Your 4-year-old wanders into the kitchen while you're making coffee. Instead of immediately reaching for a device to keep them busy, you invite them to help you measure the coffee grounds. "This is 1 scoop," you say, handing them the measuring spoon. "Can you help me make 3 more?" They carefully count and scoop. You talk about numbers, textures, smells. They spill a little. You laugh together. This is what childhood should look like: messy, interactive, full of ordinary moments turned into learning opportunities. You're not constantly comparing your child to developmental milestones on apps. You're not anxious about whether they're behind or ahead. You trust their individual timeline while staying connected to professional guidance when needed. Your relationship becomes the curriculum. Your attention becomes the best educational tool. Your home becomes a place where learning happens naturally through daily life. Your child develops confidence because they're seen and heard, not just taught and tested. They learn to trust their own curiosity because you respond to it with interest and engagement. This isn't about being a perfect parent. It's about being a present one. Now, I know what you're thinking. But other kids seem so far ahead. What if my child really is behind? Here's what the research shows. Development happens in windows, not deadlines. Some children walk at 9 months, others at 15 months. Both are completely normal. Language, social skills, and cognitive development follow the same pattern. Your child's timeline is not a report card on your parenting. What if I've already made mistakes? What if I've already caused delays? The brain's ability to adapt and grow continues throughout life. It's called neuroplasticity. Every positive interaction you have with your child from this moment forward contributes to their development. You can't change the past, but you have enormous influence over what happens next. The best time to start relationship-based parenting was yesterday. The second best time is right now. Here's what I want you to do this week. Choose one of these new rules and try it for just 3 days. Maybe it's the connection before content rule, having one real conversation instead of one educational app session. Maybe it's the real voice rule, co-viewing instead of solo screen time. Start small, notice what happens. See how your child responds when they have your full attention and engagement. If this helped shift your perspective on early development, hit the like button so I know this content is valuable to you. And subscribe for more evidence-based parenting guidance that cuts through the noise. Your instincts plus good science equals everything your child needs to thrive. Trust the process. Trust yourself. Your child's timeline is exactly right. Next week, I'm breaking down the hidden costs of overscheduling your young child and why boredom might be the best gift you can give their developing brain.